Hey YouTube, today we're going to look at an AK rifle, and the reason I'm making this video is because I made a promise to a viewer that I would do a video on my favorite AK, very similar to the video I did on the AR. Well folks, I don't have a ton of AKs, and I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not a real big fan of the AK platform, but I do own one of them, and it is this one here in front of us. So before we go any further, I'm going to pick this rifle up and show you that there is nothing in it, and we are clear to make this video. Nobody can get hurt. So what we have here is the only AK rifle I have. It's a Century Arms AK rifle, and this one's chambered in 7.62 by 39. Now, give you a little bit of history on the AKs, and I'm not an expert on these things at all. But these rifles were designed in the 1940s, and they were designed in Russia. And Russia made these as simply a cheap, pretty much disposable rifle that they could use out in the field. And if anything went wrong with them, they would just cannibalize other rifles and stick them together and continue on. They were very cheap to manufacture, very cheap to make, and they were very cheaply designed. So they were never meant to be quote unquote collector's items or high powered precision rifles or anything like that, like these common folks think of them as today. Now the problems I have with them is they're not super accurate. These rifles are, I think they have an effective range of about 300 to 400 yards, just like an AR does. But I mean, they're extremely inaccurate when you get out shooting like that. Even the expert shooters have problems making these things real accurate or anything like that. Now, when you go to mounting optics on it, the only way to do it on one of these is to get, this one doesn't have it on here, but it's to get a side mounted optic mount that goes up, and I don't really like that kind of stuff either. And to be quite honest with you, AKs look kind of stupid with optics on them. Now, this is just a base model AK. This is made by Century Arms, like I said, and I put this laminate furniture on it to make it look a little bit better. It had plastic composite furniture on it, and I just put this stuff. I bought this from like PSA, and I made it look just a little bit better. So basically, the way an AK works is it has a detachable magazine. This one has to be a 30-round magazine, and unlike an AR, you have to put the magazine in. It rocks in and locks. So you just stick it in here, and you put the front in first, and it rocks in. Unlike the conventional ARs that most people are used to, where you just stick them straight in. So they have a safety right here, and it's very awkward to work right here, and that's the way it works. And this particular one has a cutout here as a bolt hold open. So with an AK, generally speaking, on the last round, the bolt doesn't stay open. That's another thing I don't like about it. If you were actually using this rifle as a battle rifle, on your last round, after you were done shooting, you would have to drop the magazine out of it. And all the AK people are going to correct me. Change your magazine in it, and then you have to rack your bolt and before you're ready to go. That's one extra step, and as I see that, it's a big disadvantage. Another thing I don't like about AKs is they're very clunky. I mean, they just feel real clunky with the actions on the inside of them. They don't feel like a smooth working precision machine, kind of like an AR. You know, I'm not saying the AR is the greatest rifle ever, but it's definitely a little bit smoother than these things. One thing about these things is they will run pretty much bone dry. You don't have to have a lot of oil in them or anything like that. They will run, and that's pretty cool. A little less maintenance. This one particular one happens to have this extended magazine release on it, so that's kind of cool. A lot of them do not have that, but the problem I have with these things is the price they command today. Now, there was a time where you could go get an AK from any gun show, and they'd have pallets of them there. They were so cheap. You could get them for a couple $100 a piece, and The original company that, or I'm sorry, the original country that came out with the AK is Russia. And as you know, we don't have the best relationship with Russia, and we no longer import their AKs into the country. So as soon as that happens, the price of a Russian AK went absolutely through the roof. It's just crazy what people will pay for one of those things. I think that's died down a little bit. So then, as with anything that's an AK is absolutely ridiculously priced. And generally speaking, in the year 2024, when I'm making this video, an AK is going to run you in this, I mean, a cheap one now, folks, a cheap one with relatively decent AK is going to run you around $1,000. Now, if you start getting these crazy Chinese ones or these Russian ones, you know, you're looking at a couple $2,000 to $3,000 for one of these things. And I don't usually discuss prices, but people that pay that kind of money for an AK are absolutely nuts. It just, they're not worth it, folks. It's like the rolls have reversed on them. It used to be pretty expensive to buy an AR when there weren't so plentiful out there and stuff, and these things were considered junk. And now the roles have reversed. Now these aren't as plentiful out there, so these things are ridiculous, and there's millions of ARs out there, and you can buy those for next to nothing. So the roles are reversed, and I told you folks when I make these videos, things are trends, they're gimmicks, and they're trendy, and the AKs are trendy right now. So I want to make it clear that there's nothing wrong with an AK rifle. I'm just not a huge fan of them, so I don't have a bunch of them. I have one to say I have an AK. I like to be pretty diversified in the stuff that I own, and so I do own one of them, and I did put a little bit of upgraded furniture on it. But other than that, there's nothing. It's the bottom of the line base model AK, and it will do the same thing as a $3,000 Vepr or something like that. There's nothing it won't do. I'm never going to mount an optic on it. I think they look stupid with the optics mounted on them. They're iron sight guns, and the average shooter, and I've had this argument before, the average shooter's going to shoot these things out to 100 yards with iron sights. Now, I know there's a lot of eagle-eyed people that say they do 300 yards up with iron sights with an AK. Hallelujah. I'm proud of you folks. The average person's not doing that. This is going to be a 100-yard rifle, maybe a little bit further, iron-sighted rifle. If you start putting optics and stuff like that on them, you're very limited on how to mount stuff on an AK. You have to change up your furniture right here. You have to change you have to add a mount to the side of it, and it really doesn't look like the AK anymore. Now, the common mistake that a lot of people make is the AK was made in Russia, and all the rest of these rifles, Russia doesn't claim them to be AKs. So when Chinese started making them, the Norinkos, they call them the Type 56. Now nobody cares. They just, like this Century one or the Palmetto State ones or the Riley Defense ones that are made in the United States, they actually call them an AK. Because, I mean, everybody plagiarizes other people's stuff, everybody copies other people's stuff, and nobody suffers any repercussions from it. They just do it. And this is actually called an AK rifle. But to be technical, a true AK was built in Russia, you know, back when they were in the beginnings of time. So, been around since the 40s. I mean, they are pretty reliable rifles, but like I said, my only problem with them is they're just kind of clunky, and they're not extremely accurate. They're not a real precision rifle or anything like that. They have two different kinds. They have the stamped receivers, and they have the milled receivers, and there's a whole bunch of internet goons who get on the internet in the middle of the night and have debates on whether which one's the better receiver, the milled receiver or the stamped receiver. And most people will tell you that the milled receiver is a better made receiver, but the crazy thing is there's been several tests done on AKs, and the actual stamped receivers are the more accurate rifles, if you want to call an AK accurate, over the milled ones. So that's up for debate, and it's not for me to debate or anything. But the majority of these things, you know, they have just regular adjustable iron sights, and they have these things that you adjust them out for meters, whatever. Just that they have a fixed front sight on it, and you know, just basic stuff. Clunky, very awkward safety on the side. Just one thing I can say about this AK here, though, I can tell you one thing. This thing has an exceptional trigger on it. This thing from the factory, if you take a factory GI style AR and you compare it to this trigger, it's not even close. I mean, this trigger is phenomenal. A little bit heavier than maybe an AR trigger from the factory, but the way this trigger works, it's an exceptional trigger on it, and I do like that about it. But it's just it feels awkward to hold, but I guess it's more what you're used to. I'm more of a conventional AR guy. An AR, I think, will outshoot this thing any day of the week in accuracy, and I think they're a little bit more simple to operate than the AR is, but AKs do have their place in this world. It's just never been my thing. I do own one, so all the people that want to see me do my favorite AK rifle, well, this is it. This is my favorite AK rifle because it happens to be the only one I own. So, anyway, folks, you have any questions on this particular rifle? I believe I have a video going a little bit more in depth in it, but thank you very much for watching my video today, and you folks have a great day.